It is not the great scientists, nor the talented engineers, nor even the top lawyers who are the icons for the universities, but is the athletes. While great scientific success makes headlines for just a few weeks, athletics news persists for almost a full year. We can all debate whether that is great for society or not, but that's the reality of the situation. We have to deal with it. Football provides exposure for these schools. As Chris Burnett from the University of Georgia says, "We're marketing tools for the programs, but we can't see the proceeds. It just seems backwards." And he's right. Should athletes be forced to remain poor just like every other college student, even though they mean so much to the respective universities? The nature of college football really should be changed by paying college football players. I will be discussing today the reasons why we need to make this change and pay college football players. I will talk about how we can properly compensate these players for everything they mean to their universities. And most importantly, I will describe the benefits and the drawbacks of my proposed plan. We need to make a change in college football to eliminate the constant controversy that plagues this great game. The first reason why we need to make this change: deficient athletic scholarships. According to the Wall Street Journal, a full athletic scholarship at a Division I university on average does not include $3,222 in educational expenses. Jim Walker of the Tribune Business News notes that the things that are missing from these athletic scholarships: transportation, laundry, clothing, and entertainment. As a result, student athletes from low-income backgrounds still struggle to make ends meet, even with their full athletic scholarship. In addition, tuition has been rising every year, and in the past year alone, it has raised $220, according to a report by the College Board. Football brings in the most profit for these schools, but the problem is that everyone profits except for the players themselves. According to the Huffington Post, coaches make a minimum of $100,000, and the very best coaches make up to $5 million per year, plus bonuses for making playoffs or winning championships. In addition, college football programs themselves capture millions of dollars in order to make up for the net loss accrued by their other Division I athletic sports. So there's that. But the most ridiculously paid people involved are the executives of the NCAA. According to the Huffington Post, the NCAA signed a contract with CBS netting $10.8 billion over the next 14 years. The crazy thing is, the NCAA is supposedly a non-profit organization. Even crazier, players are prohibited from profiting from their own name, their own likeness, and their own fame. Why, you ask? If Taylor Swift, for example, was at college, wouldn't it be crazy if she were not allowed to profit from her own talent singing and paying all that money that she accrues from her record labels to the university itself? That's ridiculous. And according to Time magazine, ShopNCAASports.com was selling a Johnny Manziel number 2 jersey for $64.95, even though schools themselves are not allowed to do that. Some nonprofit, huh? To sum up, these college football players are working full-time jobs to boost recruiting and applications without proper compensation, and the high and mighty executives are making all the money. Now that I have identified the problems that are involved in the current college football system, I will propose a plan for action that we can implement to benefit these players. One course of action is to pay each player a $2,000 maximum miscellaneous expense allowance, half of which would be paid by the NCAA, the other half of which would be paid by the college itself. A report by the NCPA, an advocacy group for college athletes, suggests that paying the college football players this small amount could discourage the violation of NCAA rules. It could prevent constant controversies, like just simple things like selling an autographed jersey to somebody that can get you suspended. And with this $2,000 expense, it will reduce the need for the students to sell things like that under the table. However, to achieve this, the NCAA principle of amateurism must be reformed. The NCAA website states, in general, amateurism requirements do not allow salary for participating in athletics and prize money above actual and necessary expenses. With the change proposed by the NCPA, it would specify that actual and necessary expenses include transportation, laundry, and clothing, up to a maximum of $2,000. In addition, with this plan, it cannot discriminate amongst full scholarship athletes, partial scholarship athletes, and walk-ons, which means all players must receive the same amount at each school. The main challenge with this plan would be adhering to Title IX. Despite the report in LA Sentinel that most women's college athletics function at a net loss, Title IX requires that male athletes and female athletes must be paid the same amount. In order to account for this, in our example, we'll talk about Alabama, for example. They pay each of their 85 football players $2,000 each. Now, 85 times $2,000 is $170,000, which would be distributed evenly amongst all the women's sports at the University of Alabama, which would be a great thing in and of itself. While this does not fully compensate the football players for everything they mean to their schools, it is a great step in the right direction. Now that I've covered the logistics of the plan, I will give you some insight into what college athletics will look like with the proposed plan. Gender equity will be maintained, which is very good, and the female athletes will be paid alongside the football players. Controversy involving athletes accepting money will be reduced because there won't be a need for it with them having that extra $2,000 allowance. However, Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, believes that paying the players would result in schools bribing players to come play for their programs. But would it really change the current state of affairs in college football? The past 7 teams to win the National Football Championship in college were from the Southeastern Conference, the SEC. And their recent dominance is likely to continue with or without paying the players, according to Pete DePremio of the Tribune Business News. To sum it up, college athletes will be paid, the college football stratosphere will have less controversy, the integrity of Title IX will be preserved, and the college football will remain dominated by the SEC. To review, I have covered why we need to make a change in college football. I've proposed a plan that will compensate these players for everything they mean to their universities, and I've shown you what college football looks like with the proposed plan implemented. One thing is clear, the NCAA really should make this change in order to properly compensate their players for what they do and what they mean to their universities. Now, what can you do, and why should you care? Athletics are a really big deal here at Cal Poly, and you can see that manifested in our state-of-the-art rec center. These athletes at Cal Poly do not have the same free time that we have to enjoy the great, awesome rec center that we have here, because they're working a full-time job and representing our school. It's our turn to repay their dedication. I have here a letter petitioning to the NCAA to rewrite the principle of amateurism. And if I could obtain your signatures, we, together, can eliminate the controversy that plagues college football.